I'll start off with, not quite the right size, but the internet is really big. Everyone knows this intellectually, but it is actually huge. There are more devices connected to the internet than there are people on the planet, by several times. So that's computers, that's light switches, that's people's music devices, it's kettles, as we mentioned earlier, it's doorbells, there's toothbrushes. Everything can now be connected, pretty much. Your car connects, your phone always connects, so you're always connected. Everything can connect to the internet, and everything is connected. The whole Internet of Things is about connecting everything, smart sensors, fish tanks. When I say everything, I do mean it. So that one up there is a smart egg holder. You put your eggs in it, you put it in the fridge, and it will tell you when you're running out of eggs and have to go and buy some more. And for some reason, it has to be connected to the internet. That's slightly worrying. There's also there a camera with a treat dispenser, so that when you're at the office you can feed treats to your dog and just keep an eye on it. Or, as I like to think of it, someone's kindly putting spy cameras in your house and then connecting them to the internet. That's a smart fork. It's an internet connected fork. When I say everything is connected, I'm not joking. And then over there we've got a juicer, so a smart internet connected fruit juice making machine.
So before you wake up, you just and then the juice is right in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, except it doesn't let you do that. You can't set it off over the internet. All you can do is have it tell you when it's done. But
what does the smart fork do? What does the smart fork do?
the
Tell you
smart
how
fork-
much food did you eat?
Yes, it
And how many
weighs.
calories does the food on the fork has?
It weighs the bites of food. So if you tell it what you're eating, it will calculate how many calories you've
I thought
supposedly
that was a
eaten.
joke, but it
No,
isn't.
no, it's not. That is actually what it does. And the majority of these things are massively insecure. So the smart kettle was mentioned earlier. There is a smart kettle out there which has a known vulnerability. That known vulnerability means that someone from outside your network can connect to it. They can turn off the timer, they can turn off the heat sensor, and then they can turn on the heating element. You can probably see the problem here, which is that you've then got a kettle which is just heating up and heating up and heating up and will never turn off until your house burns down. Slight problem.
I would be worried about the eggs.
There's another one. I've not worked out how the egg
Yeah, I mean,
holder could be
how
dangerous
someone
yet.
would egg.
Someone might tell you you've got a dozen eggs when you've not got any, but I can't see much beyond that. But the pet food one, they've got a camera in your house. There is actually a smart toothbrush with a camera on it, which will let you watch the inside of your mouth as you're brushing your teeth. Or, again, puts a camera right in your bathroom. Don't know about anyone else, but I'm not comfortable with that unless I know it's really secure. And most of these things aren't secure at all. They've got huge vulnerabilities because in the design phase, no one cared about security. The priority was getting the product to market. On top of that, it's not just that your kettle can start a fire in your house. It's that your kettle, sitting in the office, can give someone a way in to your company network and your most prized secrets. So there's a famous story about, funnily enough, a casino, although this one was in Las Vegas, which had a fish tank in the lobby. Huge fish tank, really impressive, it's quite famous for it. I won't tell you the name of the casino, but it is quite well known. And in this fish tank, they had a thermostat, which just sat in there, Bluetooth thermostat, so that they could control the temperature, they could see what the temperature was, what the water conditions were. That thermostat was also Wi-Fi enabled, so they had it connected up to their network within the casino, so that they could monitor the health of the fish from elsewhere in the building. One day, someone came into the casino and sat down in the lobby, bought a coffee, took out their laptop, and an hour later, the High Rollers database, so the details of all of the millionaires who played at the casino, had been stolen. Because that Bluetooth thermostat, they connected to it via Bluetooth, it was running a small Linux server, it had a known vulnerability, and then it was connected to their Wi-Fi network. So they connect to it via Bluetooth, they compromise it, they use that to get into and steal the High Roller database of this casino. There's a reason no one really likes to say the name of the casino, it's because they're scary places and the millionaires whose details were stolen, let's just say we don't want to make it too public. But it is a known story that this has happened, all because of a fish tank. So, you may have heard this before, the boundary, the perimeter of the network is dead. It's gone. It's as effective as this gate here. Your firewall doesn't matter anymore because you've got a kettle connected to your network. You've got people's smartphones connected to your network. You've got all of your data up in the cloud. And you've got no firewall around that. So we can just ignore that the boundary exists for now, really. It's still worth having your firewalls, but they're not going to protect you. So the only way we can protect things now is decentralising security. You cannot say, I'm going to build a really good wall around the network, because you're then letting people onto it. And the moment you're letting people and their devices onto your network, that perimeter is gone. We have to decentralise, we have to distribute security. It has to be on every single endpoint, every single device has to be secure in and of itself in order for us to be safe. And there's only one way to do that, which is in the design phase, in the planning phase, take security needs into account. And this isn't a new message by any way. There's some very old principles that are what we need to apply. Trust but verify. Let people onto your network, fine, but verify who they are and what they want before you let them access any information at all. So your network's no longer safe, but your crown jewels sitting on their server, you can still protect. Least privilege. Only give people what they need to have. Only give servers what they need to have. The fish tank does not need access to your entire network. It needs to be able to communicate with one little machine which controls the water temperature. That's minimum function. Only what you need. Need to know, still the same thing. And importantly, no single points of failure. Never trust one security measure, because any one thing can let you down. And these are very, very old principles. In 1972, a genius called James P. Anderson wrote a report, which is now public knowledge, and he wrote it about computer security. And in it, he came up with several suggestions for how we could have secure computing. One of them was that we build security into the design phase. So when you're building a system, you take account of security at the beginning. This was in 1972. The others were, well, you trust people to access the network, but you verify them before you let them access anything sensitive. You only give them what they need to have. You only give processes what they need to have, and you only give devices what they need to have. And that you never rely on a single point. This was 1972, and we're still not getting these basic principles right. We're still having kettles that can start a fire in your kitchen because someone halfway around the world decided to have a bit of fun. We're still having foundries. A steel mill, I believe it was, in Germany. They did something similar to the kettle so that they couldn't shut down the furnace, and it melted down. It's not really a good thing. We've still got all of these problems because we're not doing security at the beginning. we're layering it on afterwards. We're not distributing it, we're counting on big walls to protect us. So once they're through the walls, there's nothing. Unfortunately, due to the size, this is cut off slightly. But just a little quote from a woman called Jennifer Zickerman. As long as tech companies continue to look at security as a feature rather than as a fundamental operating characteristic, they will be unable to cooperate to build proper security infrastructure. Sums it all up, really. But, expanding on that, everything is connected now, and it's not just about your smart toothbrush being used to spy on you. It's also about your smart toothbrush being used to get into your network so that then they can hop over to your neighbour's network. So if one person isn't doing security right, it's no longer an impact just on them. If one company isn't doing security right, it's not just an impact on them, it will also impact their suppliers, it will impact their customers, it will impact anyone that they supply services to. And we've seen this happen. The most popular target right now for strategic attacks are managed service providers. Because if you get into a managed service provider, you've got into every single one of their customers for no extra effort. And I've seen over the last year or so about 5 different cases where a managed service provider has been compromised by a phishing attack, and immediately, within seconds, hundreds of emails go out from every person in that company to everyone who they've already got a relationship with and their customers, using old subject lines, using attachments that look plausible, just spreads instantly and relies on that trust. So we need to go back to those principles again, not just for devices, but for companies we work with. You can't automatically trust a managed service provider. They can't automatically trust their customers. Because even if you can't get into the provider, if you can get into one of the customers, that gets you through. Everything is connected. So everyone has to do their job right for us to get security right. And if you just assume that trust is there, assume that they are being secure and practicing security properly, that's a recipe to be attacked. But the lessons are ones that we have had for years. All of this is stuff that we know how to fix, or not fix, we know how to do better. Fixing it involves going back, tearing it all down and rebuilding it, which is a problem. But in future, we can improve it. We can apply that trust but verify. We can apply least privilege. We can apply the idea that there should be no single point of failure. We can apply the idea that you only need access to what you need access to. You don't need access to anything else. And a system only has to do what it needs to do its job. Thank you.
As the incredible naivety of consumers, or annoyed by the incredible lack of good design on the manufacturer part?
I get annoyed at the manufacturers. They're not exercising the duty of care they should have to their customers. So as a customer, being told that I should buy this because it's convenient, it's easy, it's safe, it should not be on me to doubt that, check it out, tear the device apart. Some of us do that.
So it's like a car in the company
is
you
responsible.
expect that the car is safe, of course.
Yes.
That the wheels won't fall off. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So it is entirely on the company who's providing this. It's not on the customer.